Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd, ikhwatul Islam, ibadallah. We have an authentic narration that is found in the Sahih of Imam al-Bukhari, and this particular narration is upon the authority of Anas ibn Malik. We stated, كانت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ناقة تسمى العضباء لم تسبق. He stated that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to have a she-camel that was named or dubbed al-udba, and this particular she-camel was never beaten, meaning in a race, it was never preceded. فجاء عربي على قعود فسبقها. So a Bedouin came on another riding beast and or animal, and this particular Bedouin, his beast was able to beat that of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فشق ذلك على المسلمين. So that was something that was difficult for the believers when they saw that happen. فَعَرَفَهُ, and the Prophet ﷺ came to recognize that that was difficult upon them. Upon recognizing that, the Prophet ﷺ made a profound statement. He stated, حَقٌ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَنْ لَا يَرْتَفِعَ شَيْءٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا وَضَعَهُ. He stated that it is a right upon Allah that He does not raise anything within this dunya except that He lowers it. Now, I'll come back to the benefits of that particular narration, but I believe that what I'm about to state will illustrate why I bring up that particular statement or that particular hadith. Recently, within the last week, there has been an event that will ultimately, and Allah knows best, bring about the downfall of the superpower status of the U.S. And that being that the Saudi government did not renew the deal, the 50-year deal that they had with America as it relates to selling oil in U.S. dollars. Now, most people may not have heard that that has taken place, especially considering the fact that mainstream media hasn't talked about that particular event, although it's very significant. It's very significant because it brings about the death of what is referred to as the petrodollar. Now, for brothers and sisters that may not understand what is intended by that, this particular deal that was made during the time of Nixon, Henry Kissinger was very pivotal in bringing about this deal to play. It made it binding for the Saudi government to sell oil in U.S. dollars regardless of who their customers were. That the oil that they produce could only be sold in U.S. dollars. What that then meant was that now there was a world demand for U.S. dollars. Why? Because you can only buy this energy resource via this currency. And so, although the U.S. dollar was no longer backed by gold, it essentially had a new backing in what some refer to as black gold, meaning the oil. Because you couldn't obtain it unless you were buying it with U.S. dollars. And now in every single country that wants to purchase oil now has to buy U.S. dollars from the United States. So now what this deal, with the lack of renewal of this deal does, is that it now frees these other countries from being dependent on U.S. dollars. They no longer have to purchase U.S. dollars in order to obtain oil. Now this will have adverse consequences on the lifestyle of everyday Americans even though it may not be felt immediately. But without a doubt, analysts are stating that 10 years from now, and especially if this persists, 10 years from now, you'll be looking at a different America. You'll definitely be looking at a different America. So, and people can go online and research this from alternative media to get some of the adverse effects that it will have. The point is that America, it was already on a decline anyway, but it will no longer, and Allah knows best, have superpower status in the world. And here's the reality, because America abused that superpower status by causing instability in many countries, oppressive regime change wars, supporting coups. You know, they were manufacturers of instability. Even when we look at the current situation going on with Palestine right now, and how America is supplying Dawla al-Yahud with what it's supplying it with in order for them to commit what the UN states as a plausible genocide. All of this has the support of the U.S. As a result of this oppression that the U.S. has exported around the world, you found some or many of the scholars of al-Islam raising their hands to the heavens and making dua against this particular nation. One such scholar, Sheikh Muhammad al-Imam, I will constantly hear him state after the khutab every Jumu'ah, Allahumma alayka bi amrika dammaraha tadmiran, which would roughly translate into, "Oh Allah, upon you is America, destroy it completely, or bring it to ruins completely." And this is as a result of all of these atrocities that America had been committing, especially in the Middle East. But their atrocities were not limited to Muslim countries, because they would do it in Latin countries. If we look at Haiti and the instability that America has caused in Haiti, and thus forth and so on. And all of this was in support of their own interests, not the interests of human rights and democracy and all the liberty and freedom and all that stuff that they peddle to the world, claiming that they stand for. But in reality, they cause these types of instability throughout the world for their own interests. The main point that I'm making is, as a result of this oppression that was clear and apparent to anyone whom Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is blessed with two eyes that can see, two ears by which they hear, and a heart by which they comprehend, you found that the scholars of al-Islam, many of them, again, were making dua against the place. And we know that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He teaches us, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ فِي الْعِبَادَةِ سَيَدْخُلُونَ الْجَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He states, and your Lord says, call on me, I will respond to you. I will respond to you, to the end of the ayah. And so we as Muslims, we understand that when we raise our hands to the heavens and ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for whatever we ask Him for, that we know that He will respond, because there is no one that's more truthful in speech than Allah. And of course, because some people may say, well, we've been making dua for this X amount of years or X amount of decades and thus forth and so on, then we have to understand that one, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is on His own time, and He allows things to happen based off His wisdom. But then two, and this is an important point as it relates to making dua, that which we find in the hadith of Ubadah ibn Samit. And this likewise, this particular narration is found in the Jami' of Imam al-Tirmidhi and the Sunan of Ibn Majah and other places. But the Prophet ﷺ, he stated, "Ma al-ardi muslimun yad'u Allah bi da'watin illa atahu Allahu iyaha." He states that there is no Muslim on the face of the earth that invokes Allah with an invocation, except that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will give him that which he is requesting. أو صرف عنه من السوء مثلها, or he will, on account of that supplication, he will divert some evil that is meant to befall him that is equal to that supplication. ما لم يدعو بإثم أو قطيعة رحم, as long as he doesn't supplicate with that which is considered to be sinful, or that which is considered to be the cutting of ties, family ties, excuse me. وَمَا لَمْ يَعْجَلْ, and as long as he doesn't become hasty to the point where he says, I've called on Allah, I've called on Allah, I've called on Allah, and there has been no response. So the main point that I'm making is the dua of the believer is always accepted. It's going to come from these perspectives. And it may be that what is now taking place in the world may be the actualization of the response of the believers when they raise their hands to the heavens in that regard, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. But going back to that hadith, whatever comes to play, because the reality is only Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows the truth, the future. Only Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows what will happen tomorrow. The reality is, from the Sunnah of Allah, is that as it pertains to things that are in this dunya, Inna Allah, or Haqqun ala Allah, and La yartafi'a shay'un min ad-dunya illa wada'ah, that it is a right upon Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that He does not raise anything within this dunya except that He lowers it. And this is a reminder, because when we deal with people in America, they talk in terms of the U.S. being some unstoppable force. But in reality, everything in this dunya belongs to Allah, and nothing occurs inside this dunya or within this universe except that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala allows it to happen. And with that, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.